Hi everyone. Okay, I'm going to do an official video on Karlie Guse. Now, there is tons of speculation about what happened to Karlie, and I do not intend on adding to that speculation, so I'm not going to be talking about the people that everybody else is talking about. I'm literally going to read the chart as I see it. The people who I see as a possible perpetrator, etc., will be female or male or young or old or friends or something like that. But I'm not going to pay any attention to what everyone is doing, and that is targeting her stepmother, basically, when nobody really knows what's going on. I'm not saying my opinion on it. I'm just going to read the chart. So poor Karlie, she's only 16. She was last seen on the 13th of October 2018, as you can see, in California, in Chalfont, around the desert, apparently walking towards Highway 6. There's a little backstory is that she was picked up earlier in the evening by her stepmom because she wasn't feeling right, because apparently she'd smoking some weed or taken some drugs, and she went home, was in bed with her stepmother, watching some TV. Her stepmother was apparently calming her down, and the times I'm going to use are two times. There was a text sent to Karlie's boyfriend from her stepmom at 1 a.m. and then this is all coming from Dr. Phil, basically, and the stepmom, who's the spokesperson for Karlie and who said most things. And then 5:48, when Karlie's stepmom said that she went to sleep finally and she was okay. So they're the charts that we're going to be looking at moving forward. Okay, so this one is interesting. This is the 1 a.m. text. It verifies to me that there was a text sent, and it sort of adds up to what I think may have happened as well after looking at the charts. So Karlie is represented by the ascendant, as always, and it is Leo. The Leo ascendant means that the sun is actually Karlie in this instance. The moon co-rules the victim, or the person, the ascendant. So we're looking at the sun and the moon in representation of Karlie. Now the sun is in Venus in the 3rd house. So the 3rd house is communication and texting, phones, anything to do with that is the 3rd house. So the ruler of Karlie being in the 3rd house, it makes sense that there is a message in regard to Karlie about Karlie, which is the sun in the 3rd here. Now when we look at her stepmom, we want to look at, it's her dad's wife. So we're going to, the dad is the 7th house. Then we need to count 7 houses away from that because it's his wife. So it's not her mum. So we're using derived houses. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 1st house doesn't just rule Karlie, it rules her stepmom. And interestingly, it's a duplicate of Leo. So the 1st and the 2nd house is ruling. So it shows the picture of what's happening. The stepmom is making the phone call about, or making a text about Karlie. Now, the boyfriend of Karlie is, well, we'll do that if he was just her boyfriend and it was a natal chart, we'd be looking at that he was over here. But we need to sort of utilize this area as a suspect area. So anyway, so this chart does say that there's a text. Now, what is the text about? What's going on? So what's the closest aspects to the sun, which is Karlie? Now, it's at 19 degrees, so I'm going to look for anything around that's close to 19 degrees. The first thing that I can see is Pluto is at 18 degrees. So the sun is in a square, which is a hard position to Pluto. So at 1 o'clock, Karlie is not in a very good way, and it's in the 6th house of health. So her health is not doing good, and that's because it's in a square and only less than 1 degree, so very tight. So that's one indication that's not so great. Another thing that I'm seeing is that the sun here is very close to the 4th house cusp, which is the end of the matter. Or another way to say it is the womb and the tomb. So it's a very critical point that this text is being sent at this time, showing that there's something going on that could ultimately end her life. Sadly, it's quite easy to see in this chart that something's not going well. So let's look around here again. I'm not going to use these smaller planets. I like to use the main planets only. There's any angles at 19? Nothing really. Okay, so the tightest, this one here, but Vesta, I'm not going to use that. So Pluto is the tightest aspect from the sun, and that is ill health. Something's going wrong already at 1 a.m. I actually think something was going wrong back before then when she got picked up, but possibly a chain of events just led throughout the night, and progressively she got worse. But let's look at the next chart anyway. Okay, so this is 5:48 in the morning when her stepmom went to sleep, and well, we don't know what happened there, so let's have a look. Now the ascendant, or Karlie, is Libra, which is Venus rules Libra. So Venus here is Karlie. Now I'm not going to just disregard the fact that the sun ruled Karlie before. We have to maintain that. So now Karlie's right in the picture. She's at the ascendant is what's right in front of you. So she was down here before, now she's climbing up here. But we've got another planet to pop in the mix now, and that's Venus. So Venus at 9 degrees of Scorpio at that point in time is conjunct Mercury. It's not that tight because that's 5 degrees, so there's just less than 4 degree orb. But this sort of shows me where the siblings come into it, because her brothers were taken away in the morning, so I can see that here. Now let's start looking at a possible perpetrator. The 7th house is an open enemy, so if someone was an open enemy towards Karlie, we would look at Aries here, which then would lead to Mars. Now Mars is in Aquarius, but it's sitting in the 5th house, and the 5th house is partying, overindulging, taking drugs, and something happening. So even this is sort of leading me to believe that it indeed was a drug situation. I don't think weed for 1 minute. But so the open perpetrator is in the house of entertainment and parties and having fun. And it's not on an angle, it's not anywhere where I would think this is an angry person, where in other charts you would think that, because Aries and Mars can represent an angry type of person. In this one it doesn't seem like that. Okay, moving along, let's have a look. Okay, so when we're looking at drugs in any chart and any situation like this, we look to Neptune and we look to the 12th house. Those areas indicate drugs. We should always look at the 8th house as well, because the 8th house often represents death. We have Uranus very tightly conjunct the 8th house. Uranus can be sudden events and accidents. So that needs to be remembered in this situation, that this could have been an accident or something that was out of control, something that happened very quickly. Neptune at 14 degrees in the 6th house is not good. That's the health. So that's taking drugs and it reacting health-wise, not well to you. So that's a very clear indication in itself that drugs were probably a part of this problem. Now I'm looking for the closest aspect to Neptune to see what's going on, and lo and behold, see, we have 14 here. The moon, which if you'll remember I said was the co-ruler of Karlie, is at 14 degrees of Sagittarius, and that is squaring, again, a very difficult aspect, from the 3rd house, again, to the 6th house of health. But this is even tighter, so it shows me that she, being a Sagittarius as well, was out having fun, and something has occurred in terms of drugs that has, I hate to say it, but that has ended her life. Now, another thing that is not good to see is Saturn. Saturn is our physical body, not our soul, but just our body, our bones, our skin. Saturn here is at 3 degrees and it is conjunct the end of the matter, or as I said before, the womb and the tomb. When we see Saturn conjunct the end of the matter, it usually shows us that the person has expired at this point. So it seems to me that around 5:48, Karlie is probably deceased, and may have been for a little while. Now, I don't know what happened to her afterwards. I can't speculate. It's not for me to do so. I don't know any of the evidence. I've seen lots of videos, etc. I have thoughts on the matter, but I can't possibly speculate what happened. It doesn't appear as though she was attacked or kidnapped, but something has happened to her, and even if it was an accident, she's still not around. So, somebody knows something. I feel that somebody does know something, and I'm hopeful that one day someone will come forward and say where she is, because I'm not so optimistic, unfortunately. So that's the reading on Karlie. I won't go on anymore. It doesn't look really great, as I said. I have done a map, a short map that's on my playlists. I'll do another map that's far more, easier to see to start with, and far more detailed than the one that's up. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again shortly with another one. See you later. Bye, and take care, everybody.